Captain Kang Tae stood at the back of the council chamber and watched the delegates argue. The Varneth representative slammed his six-fingered hand on the table. The Quilos delegate made a clicking sound that meant disagreement. The Tarmind envoy simply glowed a deep red color, which everyone knew meant anger. None of them looked at Kang Tae. They never did. He had been the human liaison for 5 years now. His job was simple: attend meetings, take notes, report back to Earth. Sometimes the other species asked him to fix their translation devices. Sometimes they asked him to adjust the room temperature. Once, a Varneth counselor had handed him an empty cup and pointed at the water dispenser. Kang Tae had filled the cup without a word. The meeting ended 3 hours later. As usual, nothing had been decided. The council had been around for 3,000 years, and they were very good at talking. They were less good at doing. Kang Tae walked through the station corridors on his way back to the human quarters. He passed Dr. Hana Yoon in the medical wing. She was teaching a group of Kilos doctors how to use the new diagnostic scanner, the scanner that she had designed. The scanner that the council records said was invented by a Tarmind research team. Hana saw him and gave a small smile. She knew the truth. They all did. "How was the meeting?" she asked. "The same," Kang Tae said. She nodded. "Always the same." In the engineering section, Hyun Lee was elbow-deep in a power conduit. 2 Varneth technicians stood nearby, watching him work. They held data tablets but did not seem to know what to do with them. "The flow regulator is backwards," Hyun said patiently. "See? The indicator should point toward the main line, not away." The Varneth technicians made notes. They would forget by next week. Hyun would fix the same problem again. He had been fixing the same problems for 7 years. Kang Tae continued to the human residential area. It was smaller than the other species' quarters. Humans did not need much space, the council had decided. They were only support staff after all. Ambassador Dae-sung Park was waiting in the common room. He was the senior human on the station, old enough to remember when humanity first joined the council. That had been 200 years ago. Humans had been so excited. They were joining a galactic civilization. They would learn and grow and become part of something greater. "I heard what happened in the council meeting today," Park said. He looked tired. "You always hear," Kang Tae said. "The Varneth counselor called us useful." Park's voice was flat. "He said humans were very useful, like tools, like equipment that works well." Kang Tae sat down. "He also said we were the galaxy's talented janitors." Park closed his eyes. 200 years. We have been here for 200 years. "We run 60% of this station," Kang Tae said. "The power grid, the medical systems, the food production, the communications array, all of it." "They do not see that," Park said. "They see us changing light panels and fixing their machines. They do not ask who designed those machines." Lieutenant Mina Chai entered the room. She worked in security and military planning. Or rather, she worked in the office next to security and military planning. Humans were not allowed in strategic meetings. They might hear sensitive information. "The Varneth are writing another proposal," Mina said. "They want to study human genetics." "Why?" Kang Tae asked, though he already knew. "They want to know why we work so hard. They think it is in our genes. They want to copy it and put it in other species." Park laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Of course they do. They want the results without the respect." Hana joined them a few minutes later. She had finished her training session. "The Kilos doctors are good learners," she said, "but they only want to know the how. They never ask the why." "If they asked why, they might understand the principles," Hyun said, walking in behind her. "If they understood the principles, they would not need us to explain everything." "They do need us," Mina said quietly. "They just do not know it." The 5 of them sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the station hummed. The lights stayed on. The air stayed clean. The gravity stayed stable. All of it worked because humans made it work. "I have a question," Kang Tae said. "What would happen if we left?" Everyone looked at him. "Just a thought," he said. "What would happen if every human on this station simply went home?" "They would manage," Park said. But he did not sound certain. "Would they?" Hana asked. "Do you know how many times I have rewritten the medical protocols? The tar mine system could not handle oxygen-breathing species properly. I fixed it. The Varnath method did not account for pressure differences. I fixed it. Every fix, every improvement, every update for the last 150 years. We did that." "The agricultural systems are the same," Hyun said. "The yields are 40% higher than when we arrived, because we optimized everything. The soil composition, the light cycles, the water distribution, it is all documented in human files, files that are coded in ways only we understand." Park stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars were bright and cold. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. "They will never see us as equals," he said. "We could save the entire council tomorrow, and they would thank us for being good servants." "So what do we do?" Mina asked. Park turned around. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. "We wait," he said, "and we watch, and when the time is right, we make a choice." Kang Tae understood. They all understood. The choice was not if they would leave. The choice was when. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning. Ambassador Dae-sung Park read it 3 times before he believed what he was seeing. The Genetic Contribution Act. Every species in the council had to submit genetic samples for cataloging and preservation. For the good of all civilizations, the message said. For the future of the galaxy. Park called an emergency meeting. Every human on the station crowded into the common room. Engineers, doctors, technicians, teachers, all of them. "They want our DNA," Park said simply. "For what?" someone asked. Hana stood up. "I accessed the research files, the ones they thought were encrypted." She looked around the room. "They want to figure out why humans are so productive, why we solve problems they cannot. They want to isolate those traits and splice them into other species." The room went silent. "They want to copy us," Hyun said slowly. "Like we are some kind of machine they can duplicate?" "Essentially, yes," Hana said. Lieutenant Mina spoke from the back. "What if we refuse?" "Then they will apply sanctions," Park said. "Restricted movement, limited access to facilities, possible expulsion from council space." "So they threaten us," Kang Tae said. "After 200 years of service, they threaten us." Park nodded. "I am drafting a formal refusal, but I am also drafting something else." He looked at each person in the room. "A petition for equal representation in the council, for voting rights on major decisions, for recognition of our contributions." "They will never agree," someone said. "Probably not," Park agreed. "But we have to try. We have to give them one last chance to do the right thing." The petition took 3 weeks to write. Park included everything. 200 years of service, lists of innovations, improvements, and discoveries. Records showing that humans had solved 70% of major technical problems in the last century. Medical data proving that human-designed treatments had saved millions of lives across dozens of species. He presented it himself at the full council assembly. 47 species, their delegates seated in a massive circular chamber. The humans had no seat. Park stood in the center, in the petitioner's circle. He read the entire document. It took 45 minutes. When he finished, the Varnath High Chancellor stood. His name was Vexthor, and he had held his position for 60 years. He looked at Park the way someone might look at a child who had asked for something unreasonable. "Ambassador Park," Vexthor said, his voice echoing in the chamber, "we appreciate human contributions. Truly, we do. But you must understand, the Council has traditions, hierarchies. Species join at certain levels based on their capabilities. Humans excel at support roles. Why would you want the burden of leadership? We want the respect that comes with partnership, Park said quietly. You have our respect, Vexthor said, and Park could hear the lie in his voice. But equal representation? That is for species who have proven themselves in different ways. Perhaps in another few hundred years, when humanity has matured more. We have proven ourselves, Park interrupted, for 2 centuries. Vexthor's expression hardened. The Council will vote on this petition, but I encourage a rejection. Humans should not be rushed into roles they are not ready for. Perhaps humanity would be happier in a less demanding role, something more suited to their nature. The vote was called. 47 species. 46 voted to reject the petition. Only the Torvek, a small rodent-like species that humans had helped through a plague 20 years ago, voted in favor. Park stood in the center of the chamber and felt something break inside him. Not anger, not even sadness, just a quiet certainty. He bowed slightly. "Thank you for considering our petition," he said, his voice perfectly calm. "We understand the Council's decision." He walked out of the chamber. His hands did not shake. His face showed nothing. But when he returned to the human quarters, he sat down at his desk and opened a secure channel to Earth. The encryption was his own design. The Council could not break it if they tried for 1,000 years. He typed 4 words: Protocol Exodus. Begin silence. The response came back in less than a minute. Acknowledged. 60 days. Park looked around his office. He had lived here for 15 years. There were pictures on the walls, books on the shelves, a plant from Earth that somehow still lived in recycled station air. He would pack it all, carefully, quietly. Mina found him an hour later. "I heard about the vote," she said. 46-1, Park said. "What happens now?" Park handed her a datapad. On it was a single file, Protocol Exodus, the plan that every human in Council space had known about for 50 years, the plan they had hoped never to use. "We leave," Park said, "all of us, every human in every Council facility. We have 60 days to prepare." "They will notice," Mina said. "Not if we are careful," Park said. "We train replacements on basic tasks. We take family leave in rotation. We cite personal reasons, medical reasons, education opportunities. Nothing suspicious, nothing loud." "And our work? The systems we built?" "We take our knowledge with us," Park said. "Everything we designed, everything we improved. We leave them with what they had before we arrived. If they want to call us talented janitors, they can clean up their own mess." Mina smiled. It was not a kind smile. "When do we start?" "Tonight," Park said. "Send the message to everyone. No arguments, no debates. This is not a democracy. This is survival." The message went out through channels the Council did not monitor, because humans had built the monitoring systems, and they knew where the blind spots were. Over the next 60 days, everything changed and nothing changed. Humans still came to work. They still fixed machines and ran medical scans and kept the power flowing. But they started training others. Simple tasks only. How to press this button. How to read that gauge. How to replace a standard component. They did not teach the why. They did not explain the principles. They did not share the deeper knowledge. And slowly, quietly, they began to erase their work. Hana deleted algorithm improvements, leaving only the original inferior versions. Hyun removed documentation files, leaving basic manuals that explained nothing important. Kang Tae purged diplomatic protocols that had prevented a dozen conflicts. The Council did not notice. Why would they? Humans were just support staff. On day 60, Ambassador Dae-sung Park left a handwritten note on his desk. It said, "Thank you for the opportunity. We wish you well." Then he walked to the docking bay, boarded the last human transport, and went home. The first humans to leave were the teachers. They cited family obligations, personal development, educational opportunities back on Earth. The council approved every request without question. Teachers were easily replaced, after all. What the council did not know was that these teachers had spent the last 2 months training their replacements on exactly half of what they knew. The simple half. The part that looked like the real job, but was not. Dr. Hana Yoon spent her final weeks training a Quilos medical team. She showed them how to use the diagnostic scanners, how to read the displays, how to input patient data. She was patient and thorough. She did not teach them how to calibrate the machines for different species. She did not explain the underlying medical principles she had developed. She did not mention that the scanner's accuracy depended on algorithms she had personally written, algorithms that were now deleted from the council database. "You have been an excellent teacher," the lead Quilos doctor told her on her last day. "Thank you," Hana said, smiling. "I am sure you will do well." She meant it. They would do well enough. For a while. Engineer Hyan Lee trained his replacement team with the same careful incompleteness. He showed them how to replace power conduits, how to check connection points, how to reset basic systems. He did not explain why the power grid needed specific balancing protocols. He did not teach them how to predict failures before they happened. He did not leave behind the detailed maps showing which parts of the station were running on jury-rigged solutions that only worked because he checked them personally every week. On his last shift, a Varneth technician asked him about a strange reading on one of the panels. "It always does that," Hyun said, which was true. "Just reset it if it goes above 70%. What he did not say was that the reading was strange because the entire power relay was held together by a modification he had made 5 years ago. The modification was not in any official records. In 3 months, maybe 4, that relay would fail. And no one would know how to fix it. Hyun felt a small twinge of guilt. Then he remembered the council vote. 46-1. The guilt disappeared. Specialist Wu Kang worked in communications. He managed the translation systems that allowed 47 species to understand each other. It was complex work. The different languages, the different ways of thinking, the cultural contexts that changed meaning. Wu had spent 15 years making the system nearly perfect. The error rate had dropped from 30% to less than 2%. Misunderstandings that used to cause diplomatic incidents now never happened. In his last month, Wu carefully degraded the system. Not dramatically, just enough. He removed the contextual analysis subroutines. He deleted the cultural database he had built. He reset the learning algorithms to their original, much simpler versions. The system still worked. It just worked the way it had before humans improved it. On his departure day, a Tarmind communication officer thanked him for his service. "The system is running perfectly," the officer said. "Yes," Wu agreed. "Perfectly." He did not mention that perfectly would last about 6 more weeks. Then the translation errors would start. Small ones at first, then bigger ones, then the kind that caused serious problems. Lieutenant Mina Chai had the most delicate job. She worked in security protocols, defensive systems, and threat assessment. She could not simply delete files and leave. That would be noticed immediately. Instead, she buried them. She moved critical files into subdirectories within subdirectories, named them with random alphanumeric codes, encrypted them with keys that only humans knew. Technically, the information still existed. Finding it would just take years. She also removed herself from the emergency contact lists. All of them. In the event of a crisis, the council systems would try to reach people who were no longer there. By the time they realized the problem, precious hours would be lost. "Security first," she had always said. Now the council would learn what happened when security came second. Captain Kang Tae was one of the last to leave. As the diplomatic liaison, his departure would be noticed. So he made it obvious. He submitted his resignation with a full explanation. He was returning to Earth to care for aging parents. He included medical documents, family records, everything proper and official. The council accepted it without question. They did not ask who would replace him. They did not seem to think they needed a replacement. On his final walk through the station, Kang Tae saw the results of 18 months of careful withdrawal. The lights were slightly dimmer. The air was slightly stale. The food from the synthesizers tasted slightly off. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that would cause alarm. Just the slow degradation of systems that no longer had humans maintaining them. He passed the medical wing. Through the windows, he could see Kilos doctors arguing with their equipment. The scanner was giving inconsistent readings. Without Hana's algorithms, it was guessing. Sometimes it guessed right, sometimes it did not. He passed the engineering section. 2 Varnath technicians were staring at a power panel that showed readings they did not understand. Hyan would have known what those readings meant. Hyan was gone. He passed the communication center. A translator was apologizing to a Tarmin delegate. There had been a misunderstanding in the last council session, a serious one, the kind that Wu's improvements had prevented for years. Kang Tai felt no satisfaction, only a deep, tired sadness. They could have worked together. They could have been partners. The council had chosen otherwise. He reached the docking bay. The last human transport was waiting. Inside were the final 53 humans, the ones who had stayed until the very end to maintain basic systems, to make sure the station did not fail catastrophically. Because even now, even after everything, humans did not want to cause deaths. Ambassador Park was there, older and grayer than he had been 60 days ago. "Everyone accounted for?" Park asked. "Everyone," Kang Tae confirmed. "Then let us go home." The transport undocked. As it pulled away from the station, Kang Tae looked back. The council station hung in space, lights blazing, a monument to galactic cooperation. It looked the same as always, but Kang Tae knew the truth. The foundation had left. The structure remained, for now. How long it would stand without its foundation was not his problem anymore. The transport turned toward Earth, and Kang Tae turned his back on the council station. He did not look back again. The first week was fine. The council barely noticed the humans were gone. High Chancellor Vex Thor did not even think about it until his assistant mentioned that the human diplomatic liaison had not attended the latest meeting. Vex Thor waved a hand dismissively. "Send someone else from their delegation," he said. "There is no one else," the assistant said. "The humans are gone." "Gone where?" "Home. All of them. They submitted proper departure requests over the last 2 months, all approved." Vex Thor frowned. "All of them? That seems unusual. Should I investigate?" "No," Vex Thor said. "If they want to leave, let them leave. We can manage without support staff." The assistant left. Vex Thor returned to his work and did not think about humans again. The second week was when the small problems started. The food from the synthesizers tasted wrong, not inedible, just bland. Meals that used to be rich and flavorful now had no depth. The Kilos complained. The Tarmind complained. Even the stoic Varnath noticed. The technical staff checked the synthesizers and found nothing wrong. The machines were working exactly as designed, exactly as they had worked before humans arrived 200 years ago. No one made the connection yet. The environmental systems began running warm, just 2 degrees higher than normal. Uncomfortable, but not dangerous. The Varnath technicians adjusted the settings. The temperature dropped for a few hours, then crept back up. They adjusted again. Same result. "The system is fighting us," one technician said. "Systems do not fight," another replied. "We are doing something wrong." They checked the manuals. The manuals explained the basic functions, but nothing about optimization or balancing. The technicians tried different approaches. Nothing worked consistently. The medical wing reported increased wait times. The diagnostic scanners were less accurate. The Kilos doctors ran the same test 3 times to get consistent results. Treatment plans took longer to develop. Nothing catastrophic, but efficiency had dropped by 30%. "We need more training on these systems," the lead doctor said. "We were trained," another protested. "Dr. Yoon trained us herself." "Then we need the advanced manuals." They searched the database. The advanced manuals were gone. Deleted. Only basic operation guides remained. By the 3rd week, the communication errors began. A Tarmine delegate said something that the translators rendered as, "Your proposal is interesting." What the delegate actually said was, "Your proposal is insulting." The Varnath Council member responded positively, thinking he had support. The Tarmind was offended. The resulting argument delayed the council session by 4 hours. Similar incidents multiplied. The translation system was working, but context was missing. Nuance was lost. Words were translated correctly, but meaning was garbled. Wukong could have fixed it in an afternoon. Wukong was on Earth, teaching linguistics at Seoul University. 1 month after the humans left, the first major failure occurred. A power relay in the station's eastern section overloaded and exploded. The section went dark. Life support switched to emergency backup. 23 species delegates had to evacuate their quarters. The engineering teams swarmed the problem. They replaced the damaged relay, but 6 hours later, another relay failed, then another. "These relays are old," the chief engineer said, examining the damage. "They should have been replaced years ago." "Why were they not replaced?" someone asked. According to records, they were operating within normal parameters. They pulled up the maintenance logs. The last person to sign off on these relays was Hyun Lee. His notes said, "Operating within acceptable modified parameters. See supplemental documentation for details." They searched for the supplemental documentation. It did not exist. Or rather, it existed somewhere, but finding it would require knowing where to look. And Hyun had been very good at hiding things in plain sight. The council held an emergency session in the 2nd month. The chamber was hot. 3 translators had to stop and restart conversations. The lighting flickered twice. High Chancellor Vexthor looked around at his fellow delegates and saw frustration on every face. "We are experiencing technical difficulties," he said, stating the obvious. "But these are temporary problems. Our teams are addressing them." "Our teams are failing," a Kilos delegate said bluntly. "Our medical efficiency is down 40%. Our agricultural yields are dropping. Our communication system is nearly useless." "These systems are old," another delegate said. "They need updates." "They had updates," a Tarmind representative said quietly. "Humans performed updates for 200 years. We stopped noticing." The chamber went silent. Vexthor felt something cold settle in his chest. "Pull all records. I want to know exactly what humans were doing on this station. Everything." The research took 2 weeks. What they found was devastating. Humans had filed over 100,000 patents and improvements in council databases. They had authored 73% of all medical advances in the last 150 years. They had designed or significantly modified 82% of the station's critical systems. Every efficiency gain, every optimization, every quiet improvement that had made the council run smoothly, humans had done it. And they had done it so quietly, so humbly, that no one had noticed. "They were invisible," one researcher said, reading the reports. "They made everything work better, and we thought it was just normal." Vexthor ordered the best engineers to reverse engineer the human systems. They tried for 3 weeks. The problem was not that human technology was advanced. The problem was that human thinking was different. Humans used intuitive logic. They saw connections that other species missed. They solved problems by understanding principles, not just following procedures. Their documentation made sense to other humans, but read like riddles to everyone else. By month 4, 3 agricultural stations had reduced yields by 45%. The food shortage was not critical yet, but it was coming. By month 5, the medical facilities were overwhelmed. Without human techniques, treatment times had tripled. Species with complex biology suffered most. By month 6, a complete power grid failure hit the western section. It took 8 days to restore. During that time, 67 delegates had to evacuate to other stations. Vexthor sent a diplomatic envoy to Earth, to the human homeworld, to ask, politely, if humanity would consider returning. The human response was brief and courteous. We appreciate the Council's invitation. However, our current commitments prevent us from returning at this time. We wish the Council success in their endeavors. Translation. No. The Torvek delegate, Pipti, spoke at the emergency council session that followed. They told us, Pipti said, her small voice carrying in the chamber. For 200 years, they tried to tell us. They asked for respect. They asked for recognition. They asked for partnership. We gave them condescension. This is not about respect, Vexthor said. This is about mutual benefit. We need their expertise. They needed our respect, Pipti replied. Which need do you think should have been addressed first? Vexthor had no answer. The council began to fracture. Some species blamed the Varneth for the dismissive treatment of humans. Others blamed themselves. 3 species left the council entirely, saying they would seek their own arrangements. The great Galactic Council, 3,000 years old, was collapsing. Not from war, not from invasion, not from catastrophe. From the absence of those they had taken for granted. 5 years after humanity left, the Council was a shadow of itself. 12 species had departed to form smaller regional alliances. 8 more had become isolationist, closing their borders and handling their own affairs. The Grand Council chamber that once hosted 47 delegations now barely filled with 19, and half of those attended meetings irregularly. The station itself had degraded significantly. Sections that used to gleam now looked worn. Systems that used to run smoothly now required constant maintenance. The food was adequate, but not good. The medical care was functional, but slow. Everything worked, barely. The remaining council members had tried everything to restore what they had lost. They hired expensive consultants. They traded favors for technical knowledge. They even attempted to steal human designs from archives. Nothing worked. Because the designs were not the important part. The thinking was the important part. And you could not steal a way of thinking. High Chancellor Vexthor stood in his office and looked at the latest reports. Agricultural production was stable, but only at 70% of what it had been. Medical treatment times were acceptable, but only by lowered standards. Power systems were reliable, but only because they had shut down non-essential sections. They were surviving. They were not thriving. His assistant entered. Chancellor, Earth has sent a response to our latest proposal. Vexthor straightened. The Council had sent their 5th offer in 5 years. Full voting rights, equal representation, reparations for past treatment, formal apologies. Everything humanity had asked for, and more. What do they say? The assistant handed him the message. It was from someone named President Ara Song. Vexthor did not recognize the name. The human leadership had changed while he was not paying attention. He read the message aloud. To the Galactic Council, we thank you for your generous offer. We recognize the spirit in which it is given. However, humanity has chosen a different path. We are building our own networks, our own alliances, with species who value partnership from the beginning, not after it becomes necessary. We bear no ill will toward the Council. We simply choose to invest our time and energy where it is appreciated immediately, not eventually. We wish the Council wisdom and prosperity in the years ahead. Vexthor set the message down. His hands were steady, but something inside him felt hollow. They are not coming back, he said. No, Chancellor, the assistant agreed. They are not. Meanwhile, in human space, things looked very different. Earth had become the center of a growing coalition. The Torvek had been the first to join, leaving the Council officially and signing a mutual partnership treaty with humanity. They were followed by the Sekka, a young spacefaring species that had been ignored by the Council for years. Then the Miran, who brought advanced materials science but needed help with system integration. Each species brought something valuable. Each species was treated as an equal partner from day one. Former Ambassador Dae-Sung Park, now retired, taught history at Seoul Galactic University. His class on interspecies relations and mutual respect was always full. Students from a dozen species listened to his lectures. The Council's mistake was not malice, he told his students. It was assumption. They assumed competence meant servitude. They assumed quiet work meant simple work. They assumed that because we did not demand attention, we did not deserve respect. A young Torvek student raised a paw. "But, Professor, did you not feel angry? After 200 years? Park smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. Anger is exhausting. We felt disappointed that such an old civilization had not learned such a simple lesson. "What lesson?" a human student asked. "That the strength of any group is not measured only by those who lead," Park said. "It is measured by whether you honor everyone who contributes. Leaders and workers, innovators and maintainers, the visible and the invisible. If you cannot respect all of them, you do not deserve any of them." He pulled up an image on the display. It showed the old council chamber, now half empty. "The council did not fail because humans left," Park said. "The council failed because they created conditions where leaving was the only reasonable choice. Remember this. When you build something together with others, build it on respect. Because buildings can stand without foundations for a while, but not forever." Dr. Hana Yoon was also teaching at the new Interspecies Medical Academy on Mars. Her students came from 17 different species, all learning not just procedures, but principles. How to think through problems, how to adapt techniques to new situations, how to innovate rather than just replicate. The council wanted to copy human work ethic, she told her class. But work ethic is not genetic. It comes from feeling valued, when your contributions matter, when your ideas are heard, when your presence is respected. That is when you do your best work. Any species can do this. All species can do this. A Miran student asked, "Why did the council not understand this?" "Because they mistook results for causes," Hana said. "They saw humans working hard and thought it was just our nature. They did not ask why we worked hard. If they had asked, we would have told them we worked hard because we cared. We cared because we hoped to belong. When we realized we would never truly belong, the reason to work hard disappeared." Engineer Hyun Lee was not teaching. He was building. The new human-led coalition was constructing stations, relay networks, and colony support systems. Every design incorporated input from all member species. Every innovation was shared freely. "This is what partnership looks like," Hyun said to his mixed species engineering team. "Everyone contributes their strengths. Everyone learns from everyone else. When something succeeds, we all succeed. When something fails, we all learn." The coalition was growing. New species joined every year, attracted by the culture of respect and the genuine sharing of knowledge. Within 10 years, it rivaled the council in size. Within 20 years, it surpassed it. The old council still existed. It still met. It still passed resolutions. But it was no longer the center of galactic civilization. It had become one option among several, and not the most attractive one. 50 years after humanity left, a Varneth child visited the old council station on a school trip. The station was a museum now, preserved but no longer used. Too expensive to maintain, too damaged to fully repair. The child stood in the old council chamber and read the plaque on the wall. Here stood a council that learned too late. The strength of a civilization is measured not by those who lead, but by those who serve, and whether you honor them both. What does that mean? The child asked their parent. The parent, who had been young when the humans left, knelt down. It means we made a mistake, a big one. We had partners who made us better and we treated them like tools. When they left, we realized too late that they were not just helping us. They were holding us together. Did we ever say sorry? Yes, many times. But some things, once broken, cannot be fixed with apologies. They can only be learned from. What did we learn? The parent stood and looked around the empty chamber. That respect cannot be given after it is needed. It must be given from the beginning, and that the quietest voices are sometimes the ones you should listen to most carefully. They left the museum together. Outside, the stars were bright. Somewhere out there, humanity was thriving, building, growing, creating something new with partners who valued them. The Varneth parent and child boarded their shuttle home. As they departed, the old council station grew smaller behind them, a monument to a simple truth. You cannot miss what you never respected. But once you finally understand what you lost, the absence becomes unbearable. The station's lights flickered, still not quite right even after 50 years, and then they were gone, swallowed by the dark.